What's up guys, Chris here again with another manga review catch-up video. And today I am going to do something different. I'm going to talk about a series that I have been doing weekly reviews of since its initial release. That's right, the oldest manga review series and most constant review series that I've been doing on this channel since the new year is The Four Knights of the Apocalypse, the sequel series to the Seven Deadly Sins. And how this, while only having about 27 chapters out at the time of me recording this video, has cemented itself to me as a proper and well-made sequel and continuation, as well as a legacy series to the original that could potentially hold a candle, if not surpass, the original in the future. But before I get into my initial thoughts, and this will not be a very long video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be updated on future videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more manga type videos on this channel from this point onwards, from stuff that has been out for a long time to newer stuff, and giving my initial thoughts on it. And please show your support by liking and subscribing to the channel. I also have a Patreon, which the link will be down below, along with a Coffee account, with Patreon having some pretty nice perks to it, with a Discord and certain perks to said Discord the higher your rank is, whether it be suggesting your own reviews for me to cover on series that you want me to talk about in the future, or just participating in polls, or just talking to other fans of a particular series. So please help the channel out by going to my Patreon and leave a tip or two over on Coffee as well. But with that out of the way, let's get started onto this video. So The Four Knights of the Apocalypse is honestly one of my favorite weekly series that I am reading right now. And that's saying a lot, because I'm reading a lot of Jump series, and those are still like my favorites, but I'm always hyped every Tuesday to read The Four Knights of the Apocalypse. And this is something that I was not foreseeing. Like, I was hyped when Seven Deadly Sins got announced for a sequel right after its final chapter ended, and it would be following these Children of the Seven Deadly Sins. Now, a lot of people were wondering if this was going to be like a Boruto type situation, where, you know, power scaling would go off the charts like how it was, and if the main character would be like uninteresting or bland, or the story would just be like a rehash of the original or uninspired. And I have a Boruto video out right now giving my honest thoughts on Boruto and why I honestly enjoy it. But The Four Knights of the Apocalypse is honestly a very good successor to the Seven Deadly Sins, as at this point. Its pacing is honestly not that bad, and the characters that we're introduced to right now feel somewhat fun and fresh, as well as giving us nice nods, references, and even flashbacks. Well, not full flashbacks, but referencing actual events from the previous series, as well as giving us certain characters from the original, from Seven Deadly Sins, being introduced that we did not expect. Whether it be a member of the Seven Deadly Sins or a member of the supporting cast that we did not expect to make their very first appearance in this series, we get a very nice variety of characters. While it's not an overabundance of characters, which I honestly believe that Nakaba Suzuki really excels at, just writing a tight-knit cast of characters that play off each other very well, and having some very nice motivations and stuff like that, and nice character moments, which is why the Seven Deadly Sins was so successful and so loved, because people liked the interaction between the sins and how their backstories and characters were portrayed, as well as the honestly amazingly choreographed and drawn action scenes and some really nice emotional character moments. The Four Knights of the Apocalypse, from the very first chapter, imprinted onto me that this was going to be good. Suzuki has an idea in mind on where he wants the series to go, and for this new protagonist Percival to potentially surpass Meliodas. And Meliodas, I believe, was honestly a very good protagonist and subverted everyone's expectations by the time we reached the second biggest arc, the Ten Commandments arc. And Meliodas became one of my favorite protagonists or characters of all time, and why Seven Deadly Sins is one of my all-time favorites. If you want to know my general thoughts from the Seven Deadly Sins from the beginning to the end, and why it originally ending was honestly the end of an era for a lot of people, I will leave a link in the top box over there to my original Seven Deadly Sins video, The Legacy of the Seven Deadly Sins, so go give that a watch. It's one of my oldest and first really well edited videos, so I really hope you guys give it a watch, because I do think that it was a good video. But anyway, The Four Knights of the Apocalypse has some really nice artwork, some of the best I've seen from Suzuki for the beginning of the series. It's had some really big ass twists and turns from the very first 20 so chapters, and again, he has a plan. Now, some choices, some people are kind of questioning, from like a certain thing that happens with Percival, which I'm not going to spoil, but overall, he makes it in a pretty interesting way so it can make sense, not feel overbearing or kind of ass-pully, or like he just wrote himself into a corner. He even goes out of his way to explain how things are going on in this world, particularly with the characters, through very clever interactions. And we get introduced to more members of the core cast, which, funnily enough, are not members of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, save for Percival. It's nice to get these new characters, new perspectives, and characters that could actually, if Suzuki wasn't already confirming from like the rough sketches and by the end of the Seven Deadly Sins, that the children of the Sins would be members of these Four Knights of the Apocalypse, along now with Percival, who is the main character. You would believe that the four main characters that we have right now at this current point in the story would be the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, brought together by fate. But we know that at least two members of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse are the children of Bon and Meliodas, whether it be from the silhouettes in Chapter 5, or the fact that we literally had the second to last chapter be name drops of Lancelot and Tristan, and the last chapter being about Tristan and his perspective of the world, setting up for the continuation, and a side story on Lancelot himself disappearing from the new Fairy King's forest that Bon is governing as with Elaine, and then coming back roughly 10 years later or so. I can't remember the exact date, but that basically confirms that Tristan and Lancelot are going to be two of the four members of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and Percival makes three, since he is the main character and has already been confirmed to be one of these four. The fourth member is still up in the air. It could be either one of our main cast members, or it could be the child of King and Leanne, a child of one of the other main cast members from the original Sins. It could be a side character child, someone entirely new, maybe even Zeldris' kid, for all we know. And that gives us the more theory crafting ideas, making us want to know what happens next. Nakaba from the original 70 Sins, he knows how to either troll us or make us want to figure out something. While it's not all One Piece levels of mystery, where just one little bit of piece of information will make us gasp in amazement, Nakaba Suzuki knows how to give us little nuggets of what could potentially happen, teasing us to what could happen next, or throwing a massive curveball that could completely change our interpretation of the story, and even do something that is unexpected. We had some unexpected moments in the last arc of the series, and the current arc going on in the Four Knights is honestly going to be really nice, with the introduction of a character from the original series that I did not expect to make an appearance. But yeah, this series has honestly been something that I am really enjoying. The action scenes are well made, well drawn, and the paneling is honestly very creative, and you can see how Nakaba Suzuki, who did a lot of good work in 70 Sins, whether it be dynamic panel work, art, and action, knows how to create a good action scene, weave his own story, and even give characters their own shining moments, as well as moments of vulnerability. Now, the one negative is that I don't feel as connected to this new main cast as I did with the original Sins, as even though with the opening arcs we didn't get too much time on their initial backstories, we ended up growing to love them based off of their personalities, as well as their interactions with each other. Now, the main cast of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse are fun, and you do like their interactions, and it makes sense with this odd group that has just been brought together out of nowhere. But the Sins do kind of feel a lot more put together, primarily because they knew each other from the beginning, and now, after seeing each other for a long time, they get their own dynamics back, and it even improves and helps for character development. The Four Knights of the Apocalypse main cast right now feels it's honestly not as great as the original Sins, but that's because we're getting their origins of how they met and how this new dynamic is going to be created. And I'm honestly incredibly excited. I was waiting till we reached chapter 50 till this series, or around this time when this series was a year old, but I just really wanted to talk about this and add in another piece of my own catch-up videos to give you guys a general interpretation of what I believe. If you like the Seven Deadly Sins and that you honestly believe that this next series could be worth your while, as of right now, I have to say, it is. It seems like a very proper continuation. It is not going out of its way to show that these characters are going to be stronger than the original Sins right now when they're introduced, but shows that they have growing to do, setting up new antagonists that give us a bit of mystery of what their true goals could be, or how they came up to this particular plan or way of thinking, but also is giving us the idea that they still have a lot to learn, showing that this is in fact a successor series, a legacy series, showing that this new cast will have to surpass the legends of the Seven Deadly Sins in order to fulfill some sort of prophecy, or even break this prophecy of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, as well as overcome the final villain of this series, who I'm not going to spoil, as it is something that comes into view around chapters 5 or 6, for who could potentially be the final villain of the series. Hell, even chapter 1 kind of alludes to it. But yeah, honestly, it's a really nice series. It's still too early to tell whether or not it'll be better than the Seven Deadly Sins. For all we know, it might not be able to live up to the hype and greatness that was the Seven Deadly Sins. And yes, I do kind of agree with a lot of people that the final arc was not really the final arc-esque type feeling that we all wanted, but with the new movie being a canon continuation from the final arc of the series, that will be considered a new ending, and depending on how it does or how it's written, then no one will really mind anymore. But yes, the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun read. While it's not better than the Seven Deadly Sins or as great, it has a good start, and it's slowly building up to better and better moments and nice character defining moments and actions that make you really care. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want, and I am currently doing the Four Knights of the Apocalypse videos right now weekly, and obviously I will keep this up as long as possible, as those are honestly some of my more popular videos on this channel. I just really like talking about Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and I'm glad that people actually like watching me talk about one of my favorite series right now. But with all that said and done, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I hope you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out my reviews if you want to see what my thoughts evolving from the series from chapter 1 all the way to the present. Go check out the title card up above, where I will leave it up there. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.